Okay, so I was asked by quite a few people to do just a breakdown of the recent album art I did for Loki for the track titled Rutle. Shout out to Loki, man. Shout out to Loki for hitting me up. This was a super dope project to play around with. I really had fun here. And shout out to all of you guys who've been sharing the song and just enjoying the music and also the art. Yeah, this was super interesting cover for me. Just my interpretation. We had, I think Loki hit me up probably just over 2 months ago about the project and for me to start working on it. And immediately after I listened to the song, um, the first thing I thought about was Kwaito, the genre of Kwaito. That's the first thing I heard. I didn't hear hip hop at all. I heard Kwaito. It reminded me of the 2000, 2001, 2002 era Kwaito, like the original Kwaito. And the more I started to think about that era, the more I wanted to capture the essence of just that mood, that genre, and that time, And the more I thought about Kwaito back then, not the Kwaito of now, I just thought about the culture of it. I remember the swagger that people had about it, and the big thing for me was the facial expressions. The facial expressions are a big thing in South African dance as a whole, but in Kwaito it was also a very big thing. I remember the facial expressions and swagger that the artists had, as they were rapping these lyrics, because that was, as far as I'm concerned, that was African rap at its core, you know. So for me, it was about channeling that energy, that mood, that time period, and the imagery I ended up getting to was this face, which for me represents the mood, the time of Kwaito, the period, the tone of the era, the facial expression. If you look at it, it's quite a serious, mean, mug looking face, and that was very much intentional. The artwork itself took about the painting took about just over a month, and then the actual digital cover that we ended up getting to took me just about a day to just render on Photoshop and just design, um, for digital. The artwork, the physical artwork is super layered. There's quite a lot of line work in the back, and there's a layer of this maroon brown looking color, and then there's a layer of orange, and the final layer of white, which is a signature of mine, that I use from time to time. But also, it's just, I like the way white highlights like the core structures of the face. So if you look at this at first glance, even though it is an abstract image, but you see this sort of serious looking face, you see the eyes, you see this, you assume that this represents a mouth of some sort, you assume that this is maybe hair or a hat, and it almost looks like a soldier. So that was the energy I was really trying to capture. And then the original color of the artwork is blue. So this was the first draft. This was the artwork that I sent, of just the moment, the mood of the cover. This is what I sent to Loki, and then we had a back and forth, and we eventually decided we needed a variety of colors just to see what mood captures the cover the best. So this is the official cover, the green, but there's actually quite a few variations. There's quite a few variations before this final green. I think there was about five colors in total. Um, I'll just look for the colors now, but there's probably about five, I'd say, in total. So we played around with, there we go. Um, this was obviously my preference. I just really like, if you've seen my work, I'm a fan of just the complementary colors of orange and blue. I just love how they contrast. So this was my initial cover, and then we then played around with colors. Second cover I then had was this dark blue. This is more of a serious mood, you know. You just, the difference between that light blue and this dark blue, you see how the image sort of starts to go into the shadows a bit. It just adds a bit more sort of like emphasis on like just the mean mug face, you know. We then went with this maroon, which was also quite a interesting color. It also, the image sort of like blends in with the background because the original artwork has this sort of maroon looking color already, so it sort of just blends into the background with the maroon color, sort of just also similar to the blue, adding that depth of like just zone in and focus on the face, to just zone in on the eyes and the facial expression. Final one we had was this sort of gold brown looking color, which was more of like a military sort of version as well. Then the final one obviously being this green, which I think actually worked very well. So this was Loki's choice. This was his actual final choice. He decided on the color he preferred, and design wise, I'm also really happy with his choice. You know, I think the green works the best. It's similar to the blue. The image stays intact. You know, I still see the details in the background, and I still see the colors. The orange still works very well because it's also sort of complementary to green. So yeah, I literally took this image, this artwork, took a photo of it, and then jumped into Photoshop. So I had to remove the background. So you would assume that it was quite simple because it is a blue background. You know, I just have to key out the blue, but it wasn't as simple as I expected because there's quite a lot of different tones of blues in here because of the black that I've added and just the line work in the actual artwork. And if you know anything about green screen, the blue or the green that you use has to be a consistent color, so that once you add that key, it just removes it easily, you know. So this wasn't as easy because there's different tones in this blue. There's like light blues, lighter blues, darker blues, even darker blues within here. So I had to fiddle a bit, but managed to get it to a point where I was happy with at least the details in the background were still present in the PNG that I then transferred into the background. Yeah, from there it was, I'd say this is quite a simplistic structure. There isn't a lot of elements here, and I purposefully didn't want to add too many elements here. I feel like the artwork itself, you know, already demands a lot of attention, and I didn't want to take or distract the viewer with too much going on. So the background is literally that plain green, but then I layered elements on top. So this sort of torn paper, old plastic looking sort of CD cover is a layer I added on top of the artwork, on top of the artwork and the green background. And I feel that adds this texture, you know, where it adds a bit more depth to the image. You've now got these scratches and these particles that make the piece look a lot more timeless. That's a trick I'd suggest for anyone who wants to make the imagery look sort of more vintage looking or timeless. Just damaging the image purposefully with purpose and adds a lot of depth. Just this texture alone took the image from being a plain image to adding quite a lot of character. The final layers was then just the text and the parental advisory. So I was happy with those elements alone. I feel like the text was very clear, and the artwork was also not fighting for attention, but centered perfectly. The text, the Loki, the fonts for that is similar to the featured artist fonts, and then I played around with the Rutle fonts. So initially, I thought about painting the actual title of a song, but then I found this text, this really cool font, and it's almost like these cut out letters. So they have so much character. As soon as I saw this, I knew I have to use this because just the R and the U already looked like they're damaged, sort of fading into the background. Then you've got this bold T, you've got this cut out sort of L and E, like it's pieces of paper. It's just, I felt it adds so much character to the actual image, and it's a nice separation from the first font and a clear focus of what the title is. Loki obviously in white, to separate the artist because he is the focus. I thought about leaving the featured artists out because I know that's a quite a big thing I've seen with covers now, where they if you've noticed, they're sort of limiting the amount of text on the actual cover, which is dope in a way because it brings more focus to the actual artwork. But I wanted to pay homage to the actual, just the historical sort of looking cover, which would have had the artist and the featured artist. Also, I feel like it just pays homage to the artists that actually collaborated on the song. So warranted that they should actually be on the cover and not just on the back. So yeah, that's the Rutle cover. I really love the collaboration between art and music. It's always a dope one. For me, with this image, I was very much aware that it would raise quite a few eyebrows because it's not an image you would expect for a hip hop song. It's not an image you would expect for a South African sort of album cover. It's not a image you'd expect for a Durban hip hop song. So I was very much aware that this would stand out. But I was very direct. Just the elements of bringing art into this project, but also the mood, and trying to capture the moment, as I said, of the essence of Kwaito and the essence of what I feel the song brings to my mind. And so this image, I feel like it's a powerful one because I feel like with any art, the more you look at it, the more you get it, the more you see it. So I love that effect. I love that effect of you seeing something the first time and maybe not liking it, but then seeing it second, third, fourth time, and you're like, actually, this is quite interesting. I think that's the power of art. But also just shout outs to Loki for hitting me up. Shout outs for him for just giving me time to actually work on this. I really took my time working on this. I think literally, as I said, it took me about probably over a month. But the day I sent him the files, and once everything was confirmed, it was like literally he's posting the track. He's sending, he's uploading everything so that the release is ready. So shout out for him for just giving me that time and actually waiting for the art. I think this is such an important process in rollout. I really wish there was more attention to detail like this that's paid to rollout, and just a collaboration with artists. I think the creative part of the rollouts is still the most important for me, I believe. You know, a lot of artists focus on rollouts in terms of, okay, how they're gonna get their song to streams, what radio stations, who they're sending it to, DJs, etc. But they pay little time to the actual creative rollouts. And I think stuff like this is vital because there's so much that comes and so much potential that comes from collaborating with just different artists in different fields. You know, just this artwork alone, we could do a launch for the actual song in a gallery, you know, where we actually talk about the cover. Once again, we have the physical artwork, we frame that, we can, the artist low-key can, we can still print actual um prints of the artwork, and that could be something that he could offer to his fans and sell that. We can take the same image, put it on a t-shirt and print that, make it a collector's item. It's just, the potential is endless when you collaborate with artists and various creatives. And I think, if anything, what I hope you guys learn from this and more artists start to implement is just this sort of collaboration. You know, it is time consuming because there's a lot of moving elements, there's a lot of people involved doing different things, but I think it's vital. It adds so much to the overall creative of the project, you know, because now you've got people that might see the cover, right, and be like, what is this about? Then they end up listening to the song because of the cover. You know, you've got people that love the artist, that see something new, something different, that also excites them. Then you've got the fans of the actual artist that made the artwork, who are looking at the artwork and then tapping into the artist who made the song and listening to that. So it's just this multiple pool of sort of attention, you know. So yeah, shout out to Loki. Really had fun in this project. Looking to do more of these. Yeah, that's Rutle. That's the breakdown of the album cover.